The doomer, an individual so pessimistic about the state of the modern world, they choose to stay indoors all year round, brain rotting and subjecting themselves to various genres and styles of music that are only going to strengthen their feelings of hopelessness and despair. This music is known as doomer music and is an overarching label that gets applied to various styles and genres of music that differ greatly from each other in terms of instrumentation and sound. All the songs under the label are similar in terms of the feelings of hopelessness, loneliness and despair they achieve. This in turn means songs labeled as doomer music can range from post-punk originated within the depths of Russia to British EDM designed to be the perfect backdrop music for a nice relaxing ride on the London Underground. So where did the term doomer come from? How did it evolve and how does it link to music? According to the Wikipedia definition, a doomer is an individual who is extremely pessimistic about global problems such as pollution, climate change and overpopulation. The term would first see use after various online forums began discussing the lack of natural resources on this planet and how that may lead to a societal collapse. A doomer essentially referred to somebody who was preparing for the doomsday by stocking up on canned food, weapons, this kind of motherfucker. This definition has since become outdated, with the rise of Wojaks completely altering the public's perception of what a doomer is. Starting around 2018, various edits, images and memes would spread around the internet, featuring a scruffy individual with a black beanie isolating himself from the rest of the world. This incarnation of the doomer is more complicated than the previous, an individual who has little to no direction, seeing life as meaningless. As a result of this, they feel little inclination to engage with the outside world and instead hide away, occasionally leaving their dingy flat to work a dead-end job. The typical doomer was born during the mid to late 90s and experienced that the world changed dramatically due to the rapid increase in sophistication and availability of technologies such as the internet. They were the first generation to be raised with the internet and therefore were subjected to a constant flow of information as well as the ability to consistently communicate with anyone across the globe at any time. This not only resulted in alienation and jealousy, but also allowed the doomer to explore genres and styles of music outside of the albums listened to by friends, family members or individuals at their local record store. This resulted in the doomer forming a more unique and particular music taste. Another key trait of the doomer is of course bad skin. The skincare goblin is back to make sure we all have beautiful skin. And what have you got for us this time? Oh look, it's the simple but effective skincare provider Tiege Hanley, the sponsor of this video. Of course, the typical doomer has little time to take care of their skin. Instead, they focus their time on playing video games and listening to poorly made Radiohead edits. Luckily, Tiege Hanley allows any doomer or non-doomer to have beautiful skin with very little effort. So you want to look fresh and feel good throughout the day, but are intimidated by the endless amount of information and modern skincare products. Tiege Hanley makes it so simple. For example, the obvious first choice for you guys is the level 1 system. This includes everything you need to start off. A simple, fresh smelling face wash to remove any dirt, a twice per week exfoliating scrub to remove any dead skin cells, an AM moisturizer that keeps your skin smooth and even utilizes SPF 20 to protect you against the sun, and of course a PM moisturizer that locks in all that moisture throughout the night. I have been called a doomer in the past, but those comments have reduced drastically since I've started using Tiege Hanley. But it's not just me. Tiege Hanley has over 10,000 5-star reviews from people just like you. And just for you guys, the beautiful viewers of this slop content, Tiege Hanley is offering a deal. Click the first link in the description or the pinned comment and receive 40% off your first skincare system, plus a free gift. Members get 20% off for life. You may be thinking the free gift is some dirty old loofah, but you would be entirely wrong. You can get this beautiful silicone scrubber, hygienic and clean. Start your skincare journey today and click the link in the description or click the link in the first pinned comment. Thank you Tiege Hanley for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the video. Doomers alongside the doomer meme quickly became heavily linked with music, specifically music with a negative and pessimistic tone. Music has been around since the birth of mankind, and I believe aspects of it to be instinctual. This allows music to become a form of escapism for down bad individuals. The listener can avoid the regularities of modern life and instead instinctually tap their feet to a beat or engage in the emotion and personality of the person creating the song, which in turn makes them feel heard. The doomer may not be able to find relatability through communicating with individuals in the modern world, as they often choose to ignore the modern trends and values pushed upon them, resulting in feelings of alienation. This makes art, specifically music, extremely important for the typical doomer. You may be thinking, why have you gone into so much detail about the personality traits and struggles of a literal poorly drawn cartoon used in content farms? firearms. Well, it's because the attitude and struggles of the doomer goes further than just fiction. There's a reason the meme hasn't seen any real decline in popularity since its emergence in 2018. It's incredibly relatable to a large population of people. The younger generation spend the vast majority of their time on the internet, where they are consistently reminded of all the negative aspects of the world, not to mention the constant comparisons they make to other people's lives online, which stems from a culture that encourages individuals to constantly flex what they might not even have on social media. This has resulted in an online subculture so diverse and complicated, it's had a significant impact on the popularity of certain artists and styles of music. Let's first cover perhaps the most iconic section of doomer music, an artist so inherently linked with the doomer meme, they are literally the first search result when you type doomer into the Spotify search bar. Molchat Doma, translated as Houses Are Silent, are a Belarusian post-punk band formed in 2017, who have been able to capture the ideology and feel of doomer culture through their song Sudne, which translates to vessel. The band are directly influenced by 80s Russian rock music, specifically the band Kino, one of the few Russian rock bands who were able to gain a following during the Soviet Union due to their relatively simple and mostly apolitical lyricism. The music of Molchat Doma utilizes dark and dismal atmospheres, alongside a lyricism that focuses on introspection and loneliness. The combination of this somber atmosphere alongside the drum machine-based percussion that avoids the usage of an acoustic kit entirely creates a dystopian sound that, according to many, fits the doomer lifestyle and ideology perfectly. Despite the sound of the music perfectly aligning with the doomer meme and aesthetic, I don't believe it to be the only reason for its popularity and alignment with the doomer meme. Molchat Doma is obviously heavily inspired by the Russian post-punk of the past, with the vast majority of this music being created and seeing success after the fall of the Soviet Union, obviously due to lack of censorship. The music encapsulated the gloomy streets filled with derelict old Soviet architecture. It connotes the feeling of being forgotten about, with many former Soviet towns being subjected to extreme poverty after the fall of the Soviet Union. It's clear why this aesthetic links itself so tightly with the doomer ideology. The typical doomer feels ignored by their peers, government and society as a whole, left to experience what the world has to offer entirely on their own. Not only does the emotion of post-Soviet Russia link with the doomer meme, but the architecture as well. Many of these buildings slowly began to rot away, leaving dismal grey tower blocks cramming as many individuals as possible into a tight space. This is why in the majority of the animations, Soviet architecture is utilized. Whilst we're on the topic of cramming civilians into buildings like they're f***ing sardines, let's swiftly move on to the doomer music of the United Kingdom. I'd like to explore two vastly different artists that managed to create the same emotion and feel through their music. Let's first explore Untrue by Burial. When exploring Burial's mysterious background and the way in which he produces his music, it's not hard to understand why his music has been considered doomer by many people online. The album's off-kilter drum patterns and distant spectral vocal samples play into the ghostly and almost lonely feel of the album. Burial utilized samples from various unusual places. These include video games such as Metal Gear Solid and obscure YouTube covers with horrendous audio quality. Not only does this add to the doomer aesthetic for the simple reason that most doomers fill their free time with only video games and YouTube slop, but also due to the reality of utilizing samples with the low quality sources. Burial's usage of covers makes it clear what his intention was behind the music. He had full opportunity to utilize the vocals from the original song, resulting in higher quality, but he instead chose covers he felt fit into the right emotion and feel of the music. In a similar way to how Molchat Doma produces their music in a way that sounds lo-fi, the samples in Burial connote a feeling of bitter nostalgia. Burial's music isn't the only example of music from the UK that has seen its lo-fi qualities capture the essence and feel of doomer, only this time the artist didn't intend for the low quality sound. There has been a large trend as of late that involves individuals taking the music of the Smiths, slowing it down, layering it with lo-fi effects such as radio crackle, and placing it over a doomer edit. This is intended to remove any of the optimistic and upbeat tones within the music and amplify the nihilism and depression. This is then given the label Doomer Wave. This differs from the other pieces of doomer music I've covered so far in the fact that the original music has to be altered to become quote-unquote doomer. So why is this? What elements of the music of the Smiths contradicts the movement, and why is it even used for doomer music in the first place? On the surface, the Smiths seems like quite a depressing band, band. Their lyricism, alongside the royally British vocal style of Morrissey, can connote feelings of sadness and loneliness, with much of the lyricism focusing on the darker sides of romanticism. When you begin to dig through their discography a bit deeper, you start realizing it's just a theatre kid's dream, with upbeat, complicated guitar riffs being utilised alongside extremely tongue-in-cheek lyricism that more so takes the piss out of loneliness than presents it in a relatable manner. So if an artist makes music that needs to be heavily edited to fit the aesthetic and sound of the style, why are they even utilised in the first place? Well, I think it has a lot to do with how many individuals raised on the internet see the Smiths and other contemporary bands. If you're like me, the vast majority of your early online music experience came from being visually harassed with charts that look like this, many of which feature various albums by the Smiths. This gives the music from the band a sense of bittersweet nostalgia for many listeners, which, when coupled with various edits that take away from much of the music's optimism, create a perfect backdrop for Doomer edits and memes. Music from the Smiths was first utilised alongside Doomer memes in 2019, when the YouTuber Blazeater uploaded a video named Day in the Life of a Doomer. The video featured an animated Doomer Wojak walking through a grocery store before getting in his car, returning to his Soviet architecture flat, and rotting until he eventually goes to sleep. The music that's utilised when the Wojak begins to drive his car is a slowed down remix of There Is a Light That Never Goes Out by the Smiths. This video has achieved over 1 million views as of the writing of this video, with the full length version of the song being uploaded shortly after the original video's release, being labelled the Doomer theme song. This quickly spread throughout the following months, with various YouTubers uploading Doomer wave edits of 90s alternative rock songs, including artists such as Radiohead and Soundgarden. The most popular of these Doomer wave edits would become Somebody That I Used to Know, which gained over 1 million views in a very short time frame. I believe the reason these edits have become so successful and at times have exceeded the popularity of unedited, more natural Doomer-esque music is the nostalgia aspects of Doomer memes and culture. The typical Doomer wasn't always pessimistic, lonely and apathetic. Much like everyone on this planet, they were originally a child, full of life, optimism and joy for what the world may have to offer. It's only as the realities of adult life begin creeping in does an individual begin exhibiting the behaviour of a typical Doomer. Many of the songs that see Doomer wave edits are songs that became extremely popular during the childhood of a typical Doomer. Removing the optimism and childlike nostalgia from these songs through Doomer wave edits add to the feel and style greatly. An individual can feel bittersweet joy from the nostalgia of the music whilst experiencing the pessimism and loneliness from edits that remove much of the upbeat elements of the songs. Doomer music doesn't just extend to rock music. If you're aware of the trend, it's likely you've seen various playlists ranging from jazz to classical music. This proves the depths and range of music that can be considered Doomer. The style, aesthetic and sound doesn't matter. It's about the feeling the music can give and how each individual relates to it. Music is escapism for many individuals, making Doomer music not only the perfect backdrop and music to utilise alongside these memes, but the perfect music for any individual that may be feeling the real emotion and despair that is being perfectly reflected onto the memes online.